10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Project Saucer was officially activated on January 22, 1948. It released its digest of preliminary studies 15 months later. It declared itself officially discontinued on December 27, 1949. But on April 4th, 1950, it admitted that it had continued and would continue to receive and evaluate through normal field intelligence channels any substantial reports of any unusual aerial phenomenon. It is June 4th, 2022. This is Doug. This is the Alien Probe Podcast, and welcome, Dr. Bill. How's it going?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm living the dream.
Living the dream.
It's just been awesome this week.
Yeah. You've had
What's happening?
You've had a good week. Nothing
I've
much.
had a great week.
So that was from the Air chapter in the Scully book, Air Force Reports.
It was the Air Force Reports. We got a couple things we're talking about. I'm excited to talk about Omni. I mean,
oh yeah,
we've been skipping over that for the last couple of weeks because we've had, we don't have Skinwalker this week. Sorry, everybody,
no,
they didn't.
Skinwalker.
They took the week off probably because they have to. Looks like they're drilling for radioactive materials underground. I don't know. I saw a preview this morning, and I thought, oh, this is definitely going to be a lot better than it always is. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That's our Skinwalker report.
That's fun.
So,
Skinwalker.
So, but Omni. And what year did Omni Magazine? I mean, we're gonna.
We're talking about the Omni, April 1994 issue of Omni Magazine. Which I'll just hold it. The UFO conspiracy, and Omni started this thing where they're talking about investigating UFOs, seriously. And I got a cough, sorry. And 6 months later, the magazine's gone. Or within the year, the magazine's gone. But they every issue for about 6 months, it looks like they had really good articles about UFOs.
Do you think there's a connection between the UFO articles and the demo? Because the ads looked pretty decent. I mean, it didn't look like
it.
I don't know.
When you look into the when they quit, I can't remember what the numbers were. The I could go online, but the numbers circulation was great, and the reasons that Bob Guccione, who also did Penthouse, said that they were discontinuing it was because of the cost of paper and ink, I think, printing cost. And I don't know, there's still magazines. I see them. There's like a rack in the grocery store still of magazines. So magazines still sell, and I can't imagine. I don't know. The company had odd sort of financial structure because Bob Guccione, who owned Penthouse and Omni Magazine, had it sort of set up so it's like his house was paid for by the company and some other things. So it was an odd setup, and they had a massive circulation. I want to say it was 200,000 was their circulation, and I can't imagine that it didn't. That financial reasons caused it to stop. And they had a great subscription list. So I don't know. I don't know why they went out of business. I think it was my impression from reading about it is because Bob Guccione had the business structured in an odd way, and the board of directors finally they had to go for bankruptcy, and the board of directors couldn't really justify how the structure was because like his house was paid for it and paid for and as a business expense and all sorts of odd things. But Omni was an awesome magazine. And I have this issue, and then we have the other issues because you can find them on the Internet Archive. This particular issue is missing, which is not a conspiracy. But the later issues are.
Are you sure it's not?
Yeah. But the later issues after this one are on the in the Internet Archive. We could actually look at the articles on that. I've downloaded them. I don't know. If I haven't got them to you, I'll get them to you. If anybody else
Well,
is interested,
you
they're out
called it
there.
Omni One. You called it Omni One. I mean, that's
Well,
just the
there's
first one you sent,
well, there's
or
three
is that?
there's three Omni articles in this three UFO articles in this Omni, and Omni One was three insiders describe a military underground awash in UFOs, which it was pretty good. I mean, you just read that, and
Yeah, it's the first one. NATO meets ET. It's got the retired Army Command Sergeant Major
yeah, yeah,
who was, he worked with NATO on classified, and he had access to classified reports. And it's interesting that these guys will, make these reports. They're actually legit. I can't imagine. It could be that they make it up, but I mean, would seem unusual that they would just come up with this story out of nowhere. I mean, some people just want attention, I get it, but I don't know why otherwise that they would come up with this, but he had seen they really didn't have, it looks like it was all, I don't know if it had pictures, but it was all about, that there was NATO radar, there were sightings, there were you know, the alien. I'm trying to I'm kind of getting off the alien thing, kind of in lieu that I feel like these things are drones anymore. We're getting away from the actual, alien extraterrestrial sighting thing. I know people could be disappointed because they want
you mean the
the grays.
like
They
the
want to
alien
see the
abductions?
grays.
Well, I just did that short. I
Yeah,
just did that short about that
that
bow
was a great short.
about
That
that
was a great
the bow hunter up in Placer, right near where you are.
Placer County. Yeah, it's Placer County. And that's up in the Sierra Nevada foothills.
Yeah,
And then that guy, everybody, yeah, you should listen to that short. That
yeah.
was season 3, episode 33.
What I didn't
And
what I didn't put in the short is the Air Force actually investigated it and came up with several possible scenarios of what they thought happened. And one of the scenarios, which I thought was great, is they said it could have been there was a group of Japanese tourists in the area. So it's a Japanese tourist and their robots
that's what
were wandering
yeah,
in the woods. Of course, that fits perfectly. It's Japanese tourists and their robots.
that's a story someone would come up with and go, "We're not." And I would have to say, "We're not putting that in there."
Oh, that was the explanation was
They did.
the explanation was great. So this guy, the sergeant major, was he sergeant major? What was he?
Yeah,
Sergeant
Command
major.
Sergeant Major.
The command sergeant major had access to a report called assessment. He called it the assessment and evaluation of a possible military threat to Allied forces in Europe. And he said he had copy number 3, and it was stamped Cosmic Top Secret, which I thought was made up. But in NATO, that's a real classification. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in, yeah. Cosmic Top Secret.
Yeah,
Not
cosmic.
Cosmic Top Secret. So, and he said
Yeah.
he would go in and read this report whenever he had a chance at the this command center, I guess he was sitting in.
He was considering taking some pictures of it, of the, inside the report, but then he got scared because, you get thrown Leavenworth for that.
Yeah.
But they were, some objects were spotted on radar in formation coming from the Soviet Union toward Germany. They were flying at 100,000 feet up in the air. It's interesting. Radar, I guess our radar, even back then,
Well,
guess
this is when
I
was
don't know.
this?
That's
This
weird.
He's in 1963 when a lot of this stuff was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
I didn't know we had radar that could, track at 20 miles up.
Well, they were saying
know.
that the high-powered, the speculation, which we'll get to eventually, is that the high-powered radars around Los Alamos, where they were saying they were knocking down these UFOs because the radars were so powerful. And yeah, 100,000, I guess. I don't know a lot about radar, but
Yeah,
1963,
that is kind of found that interesting. And that they, they'd got, I think they found, I think in his article, they said they actually found, um, they weren't actual, I mean, this ties into another couple scenarios we have where the aliens, there's like 3 different types of aliens. And,
oh, I think there's more.
Well, 3 or, well, there's, yeah, I
Yeah,
know
I
there's
mean,
more, but I
there's
mean,
like a
it's,
whole. There's
he's
supposedly there's a
saying that
whole
there's like
spectrum.
3 or 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does.
So one of them is kind of like,
Now there's more.
oh, now there's
Yeah,
hundreds or something.
whatever. Yeah.
So one of them's, they did an autopsy, they did it, and they cut it open, and it was the one that looked like the gray, and it had no genitalia, and it just had no functioning thing for input or output of, waste,
for
input of
food,
food or
yeah.
output of waste.
Yeah.
And then it's more now, and I wanted to tie it, he didn't discuss this, but I want to tie into what we've been talking about, how, over when you send a ship across the galaxy, that maybe these things they don't die. The ship's autonomous, most likely anyway, but if they had to have some sort of being that would need to do something when it gets to its destination, maybe these things they're not humanoid. Maybe they're some sort of, something else.
They're like a robot. I mean, they make
like a clone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
clone,
similar,
a biological, basically a biological robot. And
but it doesn't really age, it does, because it could take, but if they fold space and do some of the other things that we were considering could be part of space travel in their world, may not take long, but, maybe they need to have something that could perform some processes once they get to Earth or wherever else they're going.
Well, yeah, it depends. I mean, there's a lot of facets involved, but they may just be a specific creation for, exploration. Like we send probes to different planets. It may just be the equivalent of their type of probe. You have the craft, and then you have the creature that gets out and walks around and picks up stuff. I mean, when you come down to it, one of the things I've read about like space exploration is, we have these machines on Mars that are running around and looking at stuff, but that's still a very limited way of exploring Mars. It'd be a lot different if you had a person in a spacesuit walking around looking at stuff. They would see a lot more stuff. They'd have, you process a lot more information, able to find interesting things and immediately determine if it's worth pursuing. Like the most recent thing was, like, they were saying there was a doorway on Mars, a carved door. Well, if you had an astronaut walk up to it, he'd just like look at it and he'd go, "No, that's just a crack in the rock.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is." But
Yeah.
you got pictures from the probe. It's like people are like speculating, and you only have a picture from one angle, and you can't really see a lot of, explore it in any great depth. But a person there would process it a lot faster. So if these creatures might be, are they explorers, or are they a construct to explore?
Yeah.
And if you're building a biological robot, does it need to eat or poop? You could have you build it. It's designed to last for X period of time, and at some point, it stops working. You just create another. Goes into that, and then it gets remade into another one or something.
Yeah, it's weird because he said that in the report he looked at, that they looked like they had been cut out of a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Clones with no alimentary tract. They did not ingest or process food like we talked about, and they didn't have any process for elimination of any food they would take.
Very efficient.
The craft that they got, I think it was, they cut it up like a pie, and then they set it up into 6 pieces or whatever, and then they sent it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio.
Is that what he said? Is that what he said?
Yeah. And he couldn't believe his skin. I mean, this is where he got to that part. He says his skin grew cold, and he was not a believer. He wasn't a believer up to this point. It's kind of like, it's interesting because I find more and more people as I and people I'm related to and things that never, they never considered any of this. And when we're, some people listening to the show, I don't want to overstate the value of that, but as I discuss with them, I'm having a reaction of, wow, this could be something that's really happening. But again, they don't, what did they do with all the cookie cuttery? What did they do? Right, Patterson, they're in a warehouse, I guess, or were sent somewhere.
Well,
or like you said, maybe they were auctioned off and it's in somebody's garage. I don't know.
Well, this comes back to, I mean, I don't want to be too critical of Elizondo or Chris Miller. They've been saying basically exactly the same thing for 8 years now, since 2014.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they've provided no new information. So
No.
they came out with a couple. Chris Miller released these videos to the Pentagon, from the Pentagon. Elizondo has built his new career on these videos and his sort of UFO exploration, but there is zero new information since those videos and his experiences with the office at the Pentagon. And I'm actually tired of that. It's like it's been 8 years, and he says, well, I know a lot more stuff, and he throws a lot of hints out and stuff. It's like it's time to stop throwing the hints out, and it's time to
done
crap or get off the pot. Give it.
Well, I'd rather. I agree.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, this guy. I mean, then again, this could be BS, but he said there were 5 different human. I know today there's hundreds, but 5 different human detailed survey of several different extraterrestrial civilizations that were experienced in this NATO report, for which they had identified visually. One race looked like us, basically. Another resembled humans in height and stature and structure, but they were gray and pasty with skin tone. The third race was known as the Greys. We all know about those guys, And the fourth was described as reptilian with vertical pupils and lizard-like skin. And they say these things have been going on for at least 200 years. Other reports are that, extraterrestrials came on at 10,000 years. I've just read this. This might have been one of the other Omni reports, that they came on 10,000 years ago, and they helped shape the human race, helped direct it in a different, genetically into a different direction.
Yeah, that's
more toward what we see today.
That's been sort of speculation. There's you sent that article on. I guess somebody was writing about Prometheus, that movie. Who's the director for that?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. The Alien saga, and I don't think the Prometheus movie was that good. It just struck me as a sort of standard horror movie with an alien twist to it. But one of the things that the Alien movies have been suggesting is that the genetic alteration of humans, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they came, remember the beginning of the movie, they came on board and the guy went to the edge of looked like a Niagara Falls looking place, and then tossed in a bunch of crap, genetic material, allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, not allegedly, the movie said.
Yeah, it's a weak tea sort of science fiction story. There's
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. We should have remembered that. Yeah. He, God, his newest.
He was milking it. Well, they had another one right after that too, or not right after that.
Oh.
Another alien one where they were going. Remember, they were. Going to another world. That was even worse.
Yeah,
that one was worse.
It's bad science fiction. It's like I don't know what's going on. There was a writer, Larry Niven. He wrote a book called Protector, and it's actually pretty cool because in that book he's saying that humans was Homo erectus. So it's the protectors are this alien species that is basically Homo erectus, and then they get infected with this virus, and they become they lose their genitalia, and their brain gets a lot bigger, and they basically become, super smart compared to Homo erectus. And the Homo erectus are just propagating the species, and then the protectors are like the leaders and the warriors of the society. And in that book, this protector flees his homeworld, ends up in at Earth, and lands with his breeders, his Homo erectus breeders, and then he realizes that he's something was wrong. Oh, the plant that they grew to that would allow you to transform into a protector wouldn't grow, or wouldn't grow, so there couldn't be any more protectors. So he was like the last one. And so what he did is he blew he caused the nuclear reactor on his ship to irradiate, produce a lot of radiation. So the Homo erectus that were his progeny, or that he was protecting, his tribe, would mutate faster, and that's what led us to humans. And that's sort of the premise, and the book goes forward from there. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool concept. But I don't know.
Good a story as any.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Prometheus.
Yeah, I know. Where they just dumped a bunch of material, and then the guy like dissolved into the water.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Threw it off.
What are they doing? So this guy actually was pretty believable in his story. I don't know about the reptilians, although the way that things are going with our government now, I think that might be true.
Pretty sure.
Yeah,
pretty sure Biden's an alien.
Yeah.
He's an old alien, but he is an alien.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all
reptilian.
Reptilian. Yep, it looks like they're the reptilians.
He does kind of look reptile-like if you look closely.
Yeah, look at that. Look at him.
Skin.
Look at him.
Watch
it. His eyes blink sideways. If his eyelids move sideways, they don't. When he doesn't blink like this, it goes sideways. Hey,
you can't tell. They're squinty eyes. You really
can't tell. Can't do this. Explore the internet free trial, Delphi. Look at this, 1994. What's this internet? What's this internet they're talking about?
What is this internet thing?
There is an internet. Download programs and files using FTP, or connect in real time to other networks using Telnet. Internet relay chat and Usenet News is the world's largest bulletin board. God, whatever happened to that? Now we have Google News.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google News, Apple News, everything's,
Yeah.
We're literally flooded with information on a, daily basis.
Yeah, it's like bad information.
We go to we go to Google, and we just get random bits of information about everything. Yeah. Mostly Top Gun news now. A lot of Top Gun news.
So
now that they're allowed to talk about everything, it's interesting.
Oh, the Top Gun stuff. Or anything
about the backstories.
Yeah.
They're allowing them to come out with the backstories of the new Maverick Top Gun movie.
I haven't seen it yet, although you saw it. It's very good.
It's awesome. Okay. Yeah, it's a little cliche because Debbie and I were talking about it's a little cliche. It's kind of funny because the music overwhelms some of the dialogue, so you have a hard time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, because my hearing's not super great anymore.
What?
And
yeah.
So, so Debbie's like, if I can't hear it, I know you can. I go, yeah, I can make out everything, but I did think, oh, my hearing's really getting crappy. I can't hear this. No, it was the music.
Could you turn on the closed captioning?
It was the music.
I've seen that in a few movies. I've noticed in some of the shows that I've watched on the streaming services like Netflix or Prime or HBO Max. Some of the shows, I think it's gotten better, but some of the shows, the dialogue isn't I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's like the dialogue is sort of muddy, and it's like it's the way that they're doing their sound, and it's irritating because it's like, come on. But they do weird sound things. I don't think the sound engineers are paying good enough attention. Yeah, the music should not overwhelm the dialogue in a movie for any reason, and it sort of defeats the purpose.
I mean, did you like the original Top Gun?
Yeah. I just watched like the first hour. I want to finish it. It's on one of the streaming services. Yeah.
Yeah, my Johnny's he hasn't seen it yet, but he says I go, I know I made you watch Top Gun when you were growing up. He goes, yeah. He goes, but he goes, dude, it's been like years. I've forgotten all about it. I go, yeah, you need to. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's still
Yeah,
it's holding
it holds up.
It's holding up. Have you watched it recently?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just watched it. Debbie fired it up a
Oh,
couple weeks ago.
before you went. Yeah,
Yeah,
I watched like the first hour. I need to finish it. I want to do that before I go see
definitely,
the new one.
definitely. I won't kill all the for you, but
Don't
it's
tell me anything.
but for everybody else.
Don't spoil it
But
for
yeah,
me.
no, I won't do it. Yeah, I'll wait another week. Everybody, we got a week to watch it, and then we're talking about next week.
Don't spoil it.
But this guy, they say at the end of you'll just kind of get to the end of it. I mean, the critics, and they always, Omni does do a bit of a disclaimer when they say it's a fascinating story, but fantastic claims like these need more than one man's testimony to be credible, says a Jerome Clark of the Center for UFO Studies. I don't know. Is that still a thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not.
Um,
It's easy to debunk. It's easy. I mean,
yeah,
that's the problem with
there's
debunking.
no proof.
Yeah,
There's not a shred of proof.
Yeah. There's the thing
NATO
about
denies
it's
such a thing.
yeah, it's easy to say. That's the problem with debunking is debunkers is they go, well, it's impossible. We know it's impossible, so whatever you're saying has to be impossible. And
NATO did respond. It said our list of classified documents generated by
shape.
which I forget what that acronym stands for, but it's a program he was working with at the time.
Secret.
What was it? It's in the beginnings. It's at the beginning.
Yeah, secret. Oh, Supreme Headquarters Operations Center. Shock. Oh no, Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe.
At that time does not include any with titles similar to that cited by Mr. Dean. Of course, they're going to deny it. I mean,
but he's got
we're denying everything now.
But it's a cosmic top secret designation. You think it's going to be in a public? Oh yeah, it's not in the public list.
Yeah, we don't see that.
Yes, we don't see that. What about?
It does not exist.
Can you give me a list of all the cosmic top secret documents in NATO? Just the titles. It's like they're not. They're gonna go. They're gonna go no. So yeah. That's a non-denial denial. And did they contacted them and asked them about the official response?
Yeah, that's NATO.
Yeah, they don't know how to. You have to, when you're dealing with organizations like this, you have to ask the right questions.
Lieutenant Colonel Rainier Ott, German Air Force Deputy Chief,
that's right.
Media Section,
denies
all information related to this.
Yeah,
he says it doesn't exist, of course.
Yeah, well, they didn't. They just said they just couldn't find a file. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's not. It's no information. They provided no information, basically.
Let's move on to the next
I'm out of
project, or the past project Galileo. And it's interesting you did point out that Galileo also was
the new project.
The same project name for Bob was on. I know that's your pet project, and you just recently stated that you don't think it's going to give us anything. You don't really believe it's going to, I mean, I don't know.
No.
If it's going to give us anything or it's another...
I don't know how many. I know they've built at least one machine, and I will not hold my breath. I will say that maybe in 2 years they will have something. Maybe in 2 years.
Maybe we can make it.
Maybe. What make it? You mean if we survive the upcoming nuclear war? Yeah.
What's going on with the war, by the way? I haven't seen anything lately. Everyone's lost interest.
Ukraine has apparently is surrounded Moscow, and they're marching on St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg
Square. Petersburg Square.
Yeah, they're marching on St. Petersburg, and the Russians. The Russians have been trying to negotiate for surrender, but the Ukrainians are refusing to negotiate for surrender of Russia. So that's the latest.
And they've done this with weapons supplied by us.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. The new Lend-Lease program.
The new.
And yeah, this is serious.
A new program.
And then the long-range missiles that we provided with them. somehow accidentally the 300-kilometer range nuclear tipped missiles got included with the latest shipment, and it really turned the tide for Ukraine against Russia.
You know,
So
it I was in distribution for a long time, and I know when you're pulling orders, sometimes just people just pull the wrong shit.
yeah, they just pulled the wrong missiles. They were the nuclear tipped 300-kilometer range tactical nukes.
And they
Don't know
probably
how
like
it.
like in distribution, somebody else saw it, and then they said, "Ah, screw it, let it go
Yeah,
anyway."
they don't know how it happened. Don't know
It's a
how it
lot more
happened.
expensive. Oh, we'll
So,
just do a credit rebill later.
yeah. Although apparently you can go online and buy a Stinger missile for $30,000 that was apparently sent to the
You're
Ukraine.
kidding.
No,
I want
yes,
one.
you can
I
get
want to buy
one.
one.
You can get one. You can buy one. There are arms dealers that apparently are selling those now. I
Wonder where
don't
they
know
got 'em.
how I don't know. Some they were supposed to go to Ukraine, but somehow they're ending up on the dark web. I don't know. These things happen. It just happens. Accidents
I
happen.
just saw the Ukrainian their Ukrainian president comes along and goes, "In order for us to win, we need $1 billion a month."
Yeah, no, we should send them 40
It
billion.
kind of it literally made me feel like we're getting scammed.
No, we're not getting scammed. It's all part of the friends and
Money
family
going.
program. I call it the
It's
friends and family program. It's
yeah.
so it's like we have who is it? We have lots of politicians that are involved. Their relatives are involved in Ukraine, and so you know, friends and family program. The money going to Ukraine ends up going to our friends and family. So
Well,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
No
I mean,
problem.
when you're in these offices, you need to take care of your friends and family. I mean, you can't take you're being selfless because the money is not going directly to you, but it's going to your friends and family. So
Well, at least I have some answers now about what's going on.
yeah,
I just,
yeah.
haven't been really. I try to go to CNN, but you get 2 minutes of news and 40 minutes of
40
commercials.
what, that many minutes of only 40 minutes only.
That much news.
Yeah, the tactical nukes have really shifted the war in favor of the Ukraine. So it was a good move on the U.S.
It was an accident,
And
but sorry.
they did bluff the Russians in. Well, the Russians said they had nuclear weapons, but what has happened is that since the Russian army collapsed in the initial assault, they were devastated by the tactical nukes, and now apparently the nuclear arsenal in Russia doesn't really exist or work, so they haven't been able to retaliate. So it's all good. Everything's coming up roses. Good. They should have capture Moscow in the next week or two. Pretty sure. So and
Good. Well, I was kind of wondering what was going on with that. Now I've got a
yeah.
Dr. Bill update.
Yeah. So the that's the way it goes. They will deal with it.
So Bob Lazar.
The next one is Bob Lazar. Yeah, this one was interesting because I like to see stuff about Bob Lazar and sort of compare what he said in the past and compare it to the present. With the usual thing, it's like, how does his story change? What changes? Does he contradict himself? And I think he's pretty consistent. He's a little,
Yeah.
but the best part about this interview, you're gone. The best part about this interview is you get little bits of new information, because he wrote a book which I've read, and his book seemed a little light on the information. But it's just details that he's talked about in the past, but it didn't make it into the book.
One thing is he stated in this article that differs from the book, and we did the book, months ago or whatever.
Poorly months ago. I think the sound.
When we were just going through chapter by chapter, and putting everyone to sleep.
Yeah.
But he stated in this article that he never saw any of the extraterrestrials at all, and I believe in the book he said he went out and he actually saw one that had gotten into one of the craft and it actually put him in the craft, and the craft.
No, he said this. No, I thought he had said he. So in this article, he says he didn't see one.
Correct.
What I remember is that he said he was like walking past a room or something, and he glanced in a door and he saw something.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember later.
Yeah, but he said he doesn't even know anything about extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
And
so his story,
that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll take it with a grain of salt. I think he's got some good stuff. Now, the thing that holds up well with him is one, he did work for this organization. He was there. And the other thing is some sort of top secret project was happening out at Groom Lake. He had knowledge of it because he took his friends out on specific days where they would see unusual things. And that other debunking site that talked about Lazar, this guy was saying, although I don't think he had direct knowledge, he was saying that what Lazar was seeing was testing of particle beam weapons, which I don't even know if they exist or not. So he was saying what Lazar was going out there and his friends were seeing was these secret tests of particle beam weapons. And the only thing I could find about that was something in some old tech that was in the Smithsonian, in the Aerospace Museum, but I don't know.
Yeah, he took his friends out. This is where he got caught after he got his classification, his top secret classification pulled because he was having marital problems.
Yes, his wife.
And he was taking his friends out drinking beer. And he got caught after the third time he went out. I mean, I don't know how many times he thought he was going to get out and do this. But they were watching and they would see this, the testing of this. They were in a certain area where they could see the testing of the UFOs. And they could watch them.
They would see these unusual lights when you could get close enough to see that. They've fixed that at this point where you can't get any closer to see the stuff. But yeah, he took Lear out there, that inherit the guy that's the son of the guy that built the Lear Jet Company or something. And
that was his buddy. His kid. Yeah,
convinced him that this stuff was real.
Yeah, and did you send me this paycheck? I got that somewhere.
Oh, that was a video posted by.
Did you look at it? I mean, he's stating in here that he was there for a month or something, or 2 months. I don't know.
The impression I got from his book was he was there for. Well, he had a weird work schedule. He was there for like a week, and then they would he'd work for a while, and then he wasn't there for. He was like on call, and they didn't call him back, and then they would call him in. So he may have had a 2-month period, but I do feel definitely in my recollection of reading his book and other research that he had at least a 2-week stretch of work there.
Yeah, and I think that we determined that that's as long as he went. I mean, that it wasn't like their months. I mean, it was a very short period of time.
But he did have he had a W-2. It was Jerome Corbell's site, YouTube thing, where I think it was a piece of footage that wasn't included in the documentary, where he was looking at his W-2 from EG, and is it EG and G?
EG and G. The military contractor.
Yeah, the subcontractor for surface services at the Groom Lake.
So I don't know. Then you and I kind of determined that he was probably a tech that just was testing things in different offices.
Well,
he wasn't really who he says he was. Maybe.
Well, Chris Miller said that he had heard from somebody that worked out there that his job was a radiation safety officer, and I'm saying that's a pretty cool job if you're going to be at a facility and have access to secret crap, because as a radiation officer you go around and you inspect different places. Any place that works with radiation, you'll go in there and you'll monitor it to check to make sure there isn't contamination. So that means, if he's doing graveyard and his job is radiation monitoring, and pretty much means he probably had the run of the place.
Right.
Which is if that's true, I think it's a more compelling story than I'm working on the secret spaceship motor, which I don't know. There's some great things about his story. And in the Corbell documentary, when he goes and talks to Corbell about the isotope 115 or whatever it was,
right,
and they like throw their phones off, into the bushes, and they're talking about this stuff, and then the next day, his business gets raided by like 20, FBI agents and all this stuff that are supposedly looking for evidence that this guy had poisoned his wife with polonium or something from his business. Which I agree. It's sort of crazy to send in, all these agents to his business. All they got to do is send a guy in with a search warrant and say, here, I have a search warrant, and we're going to copy your hard drives. We need to see your customer lists, and we need a copy of your business hard drives to verify. I mean, easy peasy. I mean, why send in, 20 agents to scour the place? So there's weird, interesting things surrounding him. And yeah?
He discovered, he talked about they, them, him, discovering the atomic 115.
115, that was in here.
Atomic number 115, element 115, which they didn't have before, but that's the key element that's used to in the propulsion element of the there's Max's.
Is that him barking out front or in the house?
Yeah, that's why I got up. I mean, I heard something like there was water running, or so I just texted Debbie. I don't know if the neighbor's making noise. I hear something on, so I'm kind of sent her a text going, "What's that noise?"
We're being flooded.
If I can hear it, then we can probably hear it on the show.
I don't.
But the dog is simply barking in his room because he sees somebody in the front yard.
He's looking. He stands and looks out the window. He
stands on the bed and look. That's his bed. We put some furniture blankets on there so he can't destroy the bed by jumping up and sliding. And then he hops up there, and then he barks. Even if he's seen a neighbor for 100 years, he still barks at him. Because somebody's out.
Yeah. We have a neighbor's dog that does that. It's so funny. You walk by and the dog sort of barks a greeting. It only barks a couple times.
Yeah, and he's just, and it's his job. He's a shepherd. He's watching the house, making sure nobody attacks.
Guarding the house. Project Galileo.
So he confided in George Knapp. It's a fringe, we'll skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
And because I think he thought he was going to get killed.
Yeah,
so he decided, or he says that. Well, that was his.
I believe
that was his story.
I believe he did get hassled by security at the facility once they started diving into his background and looking into him. His wife was running around with her flight instructor.
Yes,
and they're just looking at this guy, and he's going, well, his there's something about anyway. He's they just. You all right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where that noise is coming from. Just my tinnitus. No, we're good. We're good.
So he's so I think they just started looking at his background, and it just things weren't adding up. And then they looked at his wife, and then they're like, okay, we need to talk to this guy. And then of course that freaked him out, and it was obvious they were not going to complete his security clearance, or he's going to pass his security clearance.
Right.
Yeah, but we talked about this. I'm sure that he worked there. I'm sure that he saw something. And the only thing new that I got out of this was he didn't, like you said, he said he didn't see any aliens in this report. And he also,
that was kind of a difference from his Joe Rogan interview too.
Yeah, he didn't say there was something else.
I don't know. he stated he saw an alien, like you said, he just walked by.
Walked by and saw it in the...
Don't look at that. I was told not to look at it. Don't look at that. You didn't. You could unsee that.
I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he didn't mention that in this article because it was just he felt it was going, or in his previous conversations because he felt it was just going too far. Oh,
yeah.
But I don't know. He's an interesting character. It's an interesting story. I'm always happy to dive in and look at this stuff. There was something else I thought I was going to mention, but now I lost my train of thought. No, that's it. So yeah. And then he was arrested for unlicensed brothel.
Yeah, he was operating an unlicensed brothel, and he also was pandering. And doing some other unscrupulous things.
Aiding and abetting a prostitute, running a house of prostitution, and living off the earnings of prostitution. So he was a pimp. Nice. Charges were quickly dropped to a single felony count of pandering. And then we saw, there's also, I saw a video online, which surprised me because there was a video online of his trial, his court appearance for this charge.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it was real. And the judge is like going over his, I think it might have been his probation hearing. And maybe they filmed it because of his contacts with the TV news there. And the judge is going, well, saying, I know there's a lot that we can't know about his background because of his security clearances and stuff. But anyway, so that was interesting. And he says
that was interesting.
Says it was to discredit him. He says all that stuff was to discredit him, which apparently didn't work.
Yeah. So we move on to the last. There was 3 articles there.
Yeah, three interviews with the. And this is the airbase. This is a big UFO thing. What's it called? The airbase.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, this is a big story. Had been a big story. Rendlesham or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in England.
Yeah, is it called?
Bentwater. It was the baffled at Bentwaters. Yeah.
Bentwater Air Base, Southern England. 2 separate nights. This one's gotten a lot of press, a lot of like UFO. These are like the standard UFO story, which you come out with.
Yeah.
Which we've seen. They went. These are the guys that went into the woods, and one of the guys had a tape recorder with him, so he's recording all the. Which is, if you haven't heard it, you can hear it. You can hear it online, or there's documentaries of tape recordings. Fascinating. They're seeing strange lights, distinct indentations, triangular area. But I recorded this activity on my micro cassette recorder.
Is my video still feeding on your side?
Yeah, I see it. Did it die? Are you having trouble?
Yeah, but don't change.
I see you.
Keep rolling. Keep rolling. As long as it looks good. Mine's doing something weird, so
I
make sure
see
it's
you.
still going. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to touch anything. Don't touch anything.
Don't fix it. Don't try to fix it. So these guys were seeing strange lights. Suddenly, I'm from the south.
So
a different glowing object.
Yeah, this is Colonel Charles I. Holt from U.S. Air Force.
Retired. Yeah.
Retired, and it was in late 1980. It was actually pretty recent.
Yeah.
In Bentwaters Air Base in southern England.
For this stuff, it's very recent.
And he's a career Air Force officer, and he served in Nam and various bases before Bentwater in 80. He was promoted to base commander in 84. Now, again, I don't know why anyone of this I don't know if to say stature, but anyone, this rank would make up a story like this. But this is it Rendlesham? one they
No,
use. It's
Rendlesham. Oh, is it the?
yeah.
We,
This is the same one. It's Bentwaters, but they call it. Um,
it's named the forest that's near there or something. It's
yeah,
not the
it's named for
base.
the forest
Yeah.
that's next to it anyway. Um, and he's red sun-like light, black center move through the trees and beyond the clearing. And is in a farmer's field. Animals were making a lot of noise. Sounds like Skinwalker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was an interest. This again was an interest story. This got a lot of play. Still continues today. Every time you see a UFO,
One of the guys, one of the GIs there. I've seen him interviewed. At least that head was running around the woods with this colonel. He's been interviewed. He's apparently it's like the guy from the USS Princeton that was the radar operator for the gimbal, one of the gimbal or one of the
right?
Tic Tac,
Right.
who's profoundly changed by this experience.
The guy they called back up after he says he saw these things, and then he was off duty, and then they called him back. I know Jeremy Corbell said he was relieved of duty, but he didn't really mean that.
No, yeah, that was a different guy. This is a guy that says he saw some different, I think, different footage. And the guy wasn't relieved of duty. He was relieved of his shift, and then he was called back to because people are like, you got to come and see this footage that we picked up. Says this guy. Oh, they're talking about, interesting. He says a copy of Holt's memo to the British MOD was released through the Freedom of Information Act. Thereafter, a copy of the 18-minute audio tape of the investigation Holt conducted was given to a British ufologist. He says that Holt says he's been harassed by UFOologists and fanatics. Oh, that's too bad.
Why is he harassed?
They want to talk to him about this.
Well, he did talk about it, so he could be
at least
anticipate getting harassed by a bunch of ufologists.
Yeah, he says,
wanting to know what it is that he's seen.
Well, he's saying also at least one of them spreading disinformation. Consequently, media coverage has been inaccurate at best. For instance, he says the stories about holographic aliens emerging from their craft are pure fiction. Here's the official U.S. Air Force response. The Air Force stopped investigating UFOs in 1969 when Project Blue Book was completed, says Air Force spokesman Major Dave Thurston, based in Washington, D.C. And then the critic of this sighting was that they're saying it was the lighthouse beacon.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a lighthouse beacon?
Yeah, it says
the water.
Bentwaters is a case of magical thinking, a situation where a bunch of people got excited about different things. The thing is like I talk about reproducibility. People think they're seeing strange things. You can go to this forest during the same time of year, similar conditions, and observe how the light at the lighthouse is working and what it's showing and what it's doing, and find out if you can reproduce these sightings. And that's one of the things. It's like with Skinwalker. It's like when they're running around with the laser, saying the laser light is bending and it's splitting and doing weird things. But the obvious thing is like, okay, if it's something really weird going on, you now have a tool where you can map the area where the weird stuff is going on by shining it up. But you also have to do it in another area on the ranch to see if it does a similar sort of thing. If it doesn't, you have a technical tool that you can use to sort of explore your anomaly, and they're not doing that. So my assumption is they didn't think of it, which shouldn't happen when you have a well-educated physicist on staff, or they did it and they saw exactly the same thing and said, okay, we're just going to forget that happened and just include this other stuff in the show.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Orford Ness Lighthouse Beacon.
It was, what forest was it? Every time you see this on TV. It's called some. Is it
I know.
Rendlesham?
I thought it was in
I
here
can't
too.
find it in the article now. I thought I saw it earlier, but
Oh,
now
let me see. Yeah,
this isn't. It's not called Bentwater. It's called Rendell. That's where it's like Rendlesham or something.
yeah, Bent.
We're really good
UFO.
researchers here.
Yeah, we're doing a great job.
What they?
Great job. Good job. It's the Rendlesham Forest is what the name of the forest is.
Yeah. Are you seeing it in there?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. It's
All right. That's fine.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
if for anyone wanting to really, they're not calling it. It's the same story. Isn't that this isn't the same one where one of the
this base is closed
found?
now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the base is closed. But
This isn't the one where the guy saw the hieroglyphic stuff on a spacecraft. Is it just a lightning ball, or did they actually?
No, I don't think so. I got the halt memo, halt tape. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Halt memo, halt tape, statement, halt affidavit, Suffolk Police log, Ministry MOD Ministry of Defense file, skeptical analysis. They have the lighthouse, a trail. There's a trail in Rendlesham Forest because of public interest and nicknamed it the UFO Trail. Created work which was installed at the end of the trail. So, I mean, you could go to this forest, and I have to assume that people did this, and see if you could recreate the same sort of incident with, lights and strange things. And I'm not thinking anybody did that. But we're coming up on an hour, and we've just hit this one thing. Oh.
Yeah, after I went through this, we were talking about it. I thought, you know what? We're probably not going to get very far with this.
Yeah, this takes a lot of time. This took a lot of time. You want to hit on anything else? So, Bob Lazar, I really like this guy that gave the retired Command Sergeant Major Robert O'Dean. That's an interesting story. He apparently even had he had to sue. He worked for a sheriff's department after he retired. He had to sue them because he said they prevented him from promotion or something, denied a promotion. He actually he won a $200,000 settlement against the sheriff's department, and it was because because he was saying it was because he had talked about this openly. Out of court settlement, March 1992. And then of course, NATO is not going to say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you the list of all our cosmic talk secret documents if you ask nicely." And then Bob Lazar, and this is interesting. Possible hoax for the Rendlesham thing, 2018. Reported claim the incident was a setup by the SAS as a revenge plot on the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, so they parachuted in to test security at the site. The black parachutes, blah, blah. SAS troops were interrogated, beaten up, and ultimately insult was what they called unidentified aliens.
No.
To enact their revenge. The SAS, they tried to do an infiltration. They got caught, got beat up. And so they came back and decided to do this to embarrass the Air Force. Rigged the woods with black helium balloons coupled to remote-controlled kites. Carry suspended material into the sky, activated by radio controls. I don't know.
Amazing.
News to me. Who dares win? Britain's Roswell meets the SAS. Who dares win? Oh, that's the motto of the SAS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we should
know that.
So, breaking down Britain's best UFO story. Oh, interesting. Maybe we should talk about this next time. Yes. Oh, this might be a good article. I will text it to you. Anyway.
Cool. All right, sir.
Yeah.
Want to go and wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. We've wasted enough time, wandered around, but I think we've managed to only cover one article, which is good.
Yeah, so, when we threw that out there, I went, "Oh, we're probably not going to get more than this," and that was the case, which was fine.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at Alien Probe Podcast. Check out our website, alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram at Alien Probe Pod. See us and hear us on YouTube at Alien Probe Podcast, and punch in Doug Anthony after that to bring us up to closer to the top so you don't have to wade through everyone else. Thanks to our senior producer, Robert Anthony. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Appreciate it as always.
Yep. And until next time. All right. Bye-bye.